Sarah, Trevor, great to have you on AI's Corner Office with Aviso. Great to have you on Floor Talk. So now, Redpoint Ventures' Erica Brescia said there is zero doubt of AI's potential to revolutionize construction management. This is a truly massive market opportunity. Trevor, we've discussed AI's massive potential. Tell me, what's driving such strong interest in traditional industries like construction or manufacturing?
I think when you looked at AI about 5 or 10 years ago, it was this black box. And you looked at deep learning, you looked at machine learning, et cetera, et cetera. But with the advent of large language models and the ability to actually, in some ways, talk to your data, the ability to go through massive terabytes of data, synthesize that information, and present it in a format that's readily understandable and increases the cognitive capacity of the end user has been tremendous, right? So if you look at manufacturing and you look at Honeywell, they talk about the fact that we deliver about 150 million top line impact to them. Or Black & Veatch, old school engineering company. They use us for automating RFPs. They use us for what they term, bridging the gap, both from a skills perspective, as well as from, in some cases, age gap, because the average age of an employee at Black & Veatch today is about 40 to 50 years old. So they're bridging this gap with AI, right? That's what's so impressive. And when you talk about what Sarah's doing, which is what really intrigued us, and we invited her today, was the fact that she's taking construction and turning this on its end. And we did some channel checks with large construction companies, and they were very impressed with what they heard when we were telling them what Sarah's doing with her company, right?
10% of the world's GDP is managed on digitized paper, and that's completely unstructured data. And so the beauty that happened with generative AI and large language models over the last few years is really that we now have an algorithmic way to turn unstructured data into structured data sets.
Sarah, I want to know more about your background and what you've built at Trunk Tools.
I started my career when I was 12 as a carpenter because I needed cash. And so my background is full on blue collar, and I just worked my way up in the industry over and over again. And I did a bunch of degrees on the side, including this PhD. And my PhD was really about what can you do with data in construction? And it was a fascinating mix between civil engineering and data science and computer science in a way. But it was really it opened my eyes to understanding 10% of the world's economy, $13 trillion a year, are managed with massive amounts of data, but no data science.
Now, you recently raised a $20 million Series A. Congratulations on that. So tell us about this round.
We really tried to get the right partner on board at the right point in time. When we did a 10 million seed round about a year ago, and we had, we were researchers. It was really there was no revenue. There was a little bit of a product. So we focused on finding somebody who knows deep tech. And so we actually raised the 10 million round through Eric Schmidt and Innovation Endeavors. And they're really people who understand deep tech. For this round, we have a product, we have revenue. We needed somebody who understands how to scale AI. And Redpoint was for us the perfect partner because they have shown track record, right? They did Mistral and Modal and Poolside. And so they know how to scale AI and what that means. And the difference, that is you need the best talent and you need a lot of resources and you need to be rapidly iterating all the time. And you need board members who understand that next quarter, I might not just change my AI model, but also my business model. And that's really why we chose Redpoint and why they've been a phenomenal partner to us.
I mean, you're disrupting a space that found CRM to be really difficult. So talk about the first mover advantage and what that's doing for you.
Construction, if you ever think about it, is the most consumed product in the world. Think about this. Right now, all of us are consuming construction. Everybody who is looking at this is consuming construction 99.9% of our lifetime.
Sure.
However, most people don't care about it. So there's there's this disconnect between needing it and don't caring about it at all. And so that really made me, fascinating me all my life. And so talking about first move advantage, I really think 2023 was the year where anything AI was foundational models. And that's where the money was, and that's where the talent went. And in 2024 right now is more about the infrastructure layer. And we still have to see if any companies are actually turning out to be multi-billion-dollar companies in the infrastructure layer. And the foundational layer is a race to the bottom. And my prediction for 2025 and beyond is really the application layer AI. And that's, I'm heavily biased and so are you.
Sure.
But that's really where you actually create ROI for the real world. And so we are heavily betting on this. And our first move is in an industry that is massive. which comes with a lot of advantages. The sky is not even a limit, but the disadvantages are clear. We are the market educators. We have to teach and spend a massive amounts of resources the market to understand, how do you buy AI? How do you know if your data is safe, right? Like, what does ethical or safe AI mean, and like, how do you evaluate that? And then also, like, how do you keep the users the security that their jobs are being safe, right? And so we like to say that, and you've heard this a million times, AI is not going to take your job, but people using AI will take your job. And that's the same in construction, in CRM, in medical, in every other industry.
When we started out, we always talked about the fact that we were purpose-built for AI in general. And then, of course, we branched off into autonomous agents, and we branched off into leverage generative AI, but more in a hybrid fashion to address what Sarah talked about, security concerns. We've been thoughtful about how we approach this, right? It wasn't just about adopting ChatGPT or adopting Turbo or Anthropic's models or Llama 3 or Vicuna or Falcon, right? It was about understanding where the data was coming from, the ability to talk about lineage. We're looking at the data, whether it's structured or unstructured, and figuring out, is this really relevant to you in your industry, and is it going to add value? And that's what's so powerful about what Sarah and the company are doing, because what they've done is they verticalize this, and they're the subject matter experts. And while there's a lot of missionary work, as you said, it also gives them a tremendous advantage, as we've seen, because people have looked at them for leadership and thought leadership. Talk to me about some of the use cases and some of the impact you've had in your journey, because I know Erica and Redpoint don't put $20 million into anyone.
Fair enough. Okay, I'll give you an example. Take an average high-rise in New York, $500 million, 30, 40 floors. Costs $500 million, okay? Do you want to take a guess of how many pages of documentation you need to build something like that? Take a guess. How long is the manual to build a $500 million high-rise?
About, I don't know, 10,000 pages?
Okay, do you have a guess?
I'm going to go a little bit higher than that. Let's double that. How about 20?
In average, you have 3.6 million pages of documentation to build one high-rise.
There you go, see?
And so now ask yourself, like, okay, if I'm a painter and I should figure out which color wall I should use on this one wall, how likely is it that I'm actually going to find this efficiently in 3.6 million pages of documentation? By the way, 3.6 million pages is a stack of paper 3 times as high as the building. That's the problem we have in construction. And so what we do is we take, and by the way, this data is in multiple silos, like the same thing as in every other industry. So we take the data from all these silos, take it over, run it through our pre-processing pipeline, and use probabilistic models to turn unstructured data into structured data sets, where we then can use deterministic models, right? That's the interesting difference from a nerdy AI perspective, where we then use deterministic models to actually power these AI agents. And AI agents then take over full workflows. Well, that means in a real use case, our flagship agent is a co-pilot, right? That's how you start in every industry. You ask a question around your 3.6 million pages of documentation, which color should I use? Within a few seconds, we give you the exact answer, but we also give you a link to the source document, right? It's this trust but verify. A lot of the problems we have with the traditional industry like construction is taking the people on their hand, right? And like leading them towards these next growth of innovation and these next sprints. What that means on like a top line results are like in the end is that on a $100 million job, we save every single user about 2 hours a day. It's 25% of their work time, right? And in dollars, that means around, for a $100 million job, we save probably $6 to $7 million.
That's amazing.
In an industry that runs on 3 to 4% margin, this means tripling their margins, right?
Now, you've mentioned, you talk about your agents. Now, you have the Trunk Tools schedule agent, you have the RFI agent, and many more. Tell us about why you're focusing on agents and how that applies to other sectors.
What's so interesting about, like generative AI is exciting and it looks a little bit like magic, and we know it's not, but when it really becomes powerful is when it takes over a full workflow. And therefore you need like agentic architecture to just take a piece of information and like move it around and actually get something done. What's beautiful about being vertical specific is that you will actually get to a level of accuracy that is high enough for people to accept and adopt these agents. And that's the biggest difference to the question, why can I not just like use ChatGPT for construction, is exactly that. Because at every step where an agent needs to make a decision, and it's a decision tree, you need structured data to get to a level of accuracy that mathematically works out. I'm gonna try to explain this in normal life. When I tell my agent like, hey, book me the best flight tomorrow to get me to my meeting, the agent needs to look in the calendar, it needs to look up flights, it needs to look up like driving distances, right? There's many steps where it needs new input data and make strategic decisions. If this input data is only 95% accurate, after 10 layers of these instances, you are at a 50% overall accuracy, and that is unuseful in the industry, right? So we learned early, same as you, that what it needs is vertically specific data that helps you actually, vertically specific structured data, and then vertically specific agents that are trained on these specific workflows for this industry.
Now, Trevor, your customers are also using autonomous agents. What is your review on why agentic AI is the new face of AI?
AI is not here to replace you. AI is here to augment your life, enable you to focus on doing what you're good at, versus you doing all that kind of rote work, right? And that's what's beautiful about it, because with agents, what we're doing is, eventually, as Sarah alluded, we want to move to a completely autonomous agent without any supervision that can run an enterprise. I think at Aviso, we're about 70% to 80% there, not true AGI, but in terms of a completely autonomous agent that can run your entire revenue forecasting process, your revenue ops process. So we're about 70 or 80% there right now.
I actually want to add to that. We internally don't say anymore we do AI, we say we do IA, which is intelligence augmentation. And it's exactly to your point, right? Like right now, the industry is not at a point where everything is automated. We are augmenting, and it's a very important differentiation that like we help humans be better at their job. And therefore, yes, those humans are better than humans who are not using products like Trevor's or mine, but in the end, it's augmentation, and then slowly we get over to like automation.
Now, Sarah, for years, everything was SaaS as a service, so software as a service. You're talking about service as a software. So are you telling us that SaaS is dead?
When we are talking about the agents, the way what we are selling is services, right? I'm taking construction example. It's a full-time person's job on a construction site to compare submittals with specifications. Okay, it's two different sets of documents, and a human reads this and compares it. That is perfect use case for an agent, right? Like an agent can just by itself do this. Our agents don't have 30 years experience, they have 30,000 years experience, right? And they have unlimited time because we have unlimited processing power. So they're already better. So why would I sell this as a software if I'm actually providing a service? So we are slowly switching over, I think, as an industry as a whole, to actually telling customers, like, you pay for the service, you pay for the actual time saved, for the actual, like, however else we would have paid for the human. And therefore, we are selling service as a software, which means traditional software as a service, even from a pricing model, I think, is that. From an infrastructure model, what is the essence of software? The essence of software is that I want to communicate whatever you want, your piece of data needs to get to his piece of data. How this works in the middle, you both do not care. How traditional SaaS works is like, hey, we have a layer where the data sits, which is cloud, and then there's a layer where the processes are written, which is a bunch of code, some workflows. And then you have an interface layer where the human interacts with the data, usually right now through a web app, whatever. A modern agentic architecture looks very different. You have cloud, where the data comes in and gets structured and whatever. And then this in-between layer, is just agents writing codes on the fly, and the user interface layer is semantic. And that's a huge difference, because for us, it's way more comfortable interacting semantically with something. So that's already better adoption in the field. But also the agentic layer that writes code on the fly is faster, it's better, it's more agile, and it's more specific for the actual need of that transaction. And so I right now can recode a module of one of our competitors within like a few weeks, if not days, because the agents can do that specifically, and they do it better and faster.
It's just, you're disrupting the old world, because even Salesforce, as you probably heard, want to be the cool kid on the block and talked about consumption software pricing, which by the way is anathema, because that could cannibalize half their install base. So I was surprised. Mark was my mentor, and I was surprised that he would even mention consumption, basically charging you for the actual usage, which is unheard of in our industry, right? But we've been saying this for a while, right? Because at the end of the day, when you look at traditional software, whether it's software as a service, whether it's Salesforce or any of the other vendors out there, Oracle, et cetera, you're looking at what's a text-only database, and you're looking at a company that's built, shareholder value based on the fact that you can't switch. And what AI has done is it's taking the concept of switching costs away. Because as Sarah said, she can go and replicate a competitor's module in days and months versus years, and the switchover costs are pretty transparent. So at the end of the day, it's a meritocracy, because now all of a sudden you're able to get information not just from text only. You can get it from structured, unstructured, what we call multimodal, where basically it's voice as a time series DB as well as a relationship DB, versus originally it was just relationship DB. And secondly, it's disruptive, because they say the next trillionaire is going to be in AI. The next trillionaire is going to be born in AI. It could be Elon Musk, it could be someone else, right? But I say, why wait for Elon Musk? You've got an NVIDIA, which is $3.4 trillion, market cap. I think they're listed with you guys. And basically, if you look at NVIDIA on October 15th, 2004, they were 7 cents. I rest my case.
All right. Well, Trevor, Sarah, wonderful to talk with you both. Thanks for joining me today.